Before we step into tonight's chilling story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because in this channel, every story hides a secret, and you don't want to be the one who hears it last. The first scream didn't come from her, it came from the earth. Maya froze on the deserted road, clutching the suitcase she had dragged out of the house just minutes ago. The midnight air was still, almost too still, until the ground beneath her boots groaned as if something ancient and heavy stirred beneath the soil. She tightened her grip on the leather handle, whispering under her breath, "This isn't happening. Not again." For weeks she had planned this moment, leaving him, leaving it, leaving the shadow of a love that had long since turned into a prison. Daniel wasn't the man she once loved. He had become something else, something she couldn't even name, but tonight was supposed to be her escape. The bus stop was less than half a mile away. If she just kept moving, she could be gone by morning. But the earth didn't let her. A crack split the gravel path ahead of her, jagged and deep. She stumbled back, heart pounding, suitcase thudding against her leg. The night air carried a low guttural sound, like someone breathing beneath the ground. Then a hand emerged, caked in dirt, fingers bent unnaturally, nails torn. The hand clawed at the surface. Maya's scream tore through the silence as she dropped her suitcase and staggered back. Another hand followed. Then slowly, horribly ahead, it was Daniel. His face was pale and streaked with soil, lips split and bloodless. Yet his eyes, those piercing green eyes, locked on hers with terrifying clarity. "Maya." His voice rasped, dragging the syllables like chains. "You tried to leave me." Her chest seized. This wasn't possible. She had seen him die. She had buried him with her own hands 6 months ago. She had stood at his grave, whispering apologies into the dirt, thinking she was finally free. But here he was, dragging himself out of the earth like a nightmare that refused to end. She wanted to run, but her legs felt carved from stone. All she could do was watch as Daniel pulled himself fully from the ground, standing with a grotesque stiffness, his clothes rotted, his body trembling with something not entirely human. "You can't leave me," he said again, his voice low, almost tender, but the kind of tenderness that made her blood turn cold. "We made a promise, and I'm here to collect." The suitcase lay abandoned between them, a sad symbol of freedom she would never have. She turned, forcing her body into motion. But before she could take more than 3 steps, the sound came again, the groaning of the earth, louder this time, deeper. And from behind Daniel, the soil began to split open wider. Something else was crawling out. The second figure that clawed its way out of the ground did not look human. Maya's breath hitched as the soil cracked wider, spraying dirt across the empty road. What rose behind Daniel was taller than him, its limbs too long. Its skin stretched too tightly over bones that seemed sharper than they should be. Its face was half hidden, smeared with mud, but the jaw hung low, crooked, as though broken, and yet it smiled. Daniel turned slightly, his eyes glowing in the pale moonlight, as if proud to introduce this new horror. "You see, Maya," he rasped, "I wasn't alone down there. I brought him with me." Maya stumbled backward, hands trembling. "No, you're not real. You're dead." Her voice broke. "I buried you." Daniel's grin widened, but his teeth were wrong, too sharp, too many. "You thought a grave could hold me? You thought you could leave me? No, you don't get to walk away." The creature beside him cracked its head to the side with a sickening pop, then leaned forward, sniffing the air. Its chest rattled with each breath, and when it opened its mouth, Maya saw rows of teeth, jagged, layered like shards of glass. Her body screamed to run, but her legs carried her only a few feet before Daniel's voice echoed again, shaking something deep inside her. "You promised, Maya, remember?" Memories stabbed through her mind like broken glass. The night he made her swear, standing by candlelight, his hands on hers, whispering, "Forever. Even death won't part us." She thought it had been romantic then. Now it was a curse. The ground rumbled again. The suitcase she dropped toppled on its side, bursting open, spilling clothes into the dirt. A shirt fluttered against Daniel's foot. He pressed his heel down on it, crushing it into the soil, his eyes never leaving hers. "You belong with me," he whispered. The other figure, the thing, moved closer. It bent its head, almost childlike, resting its long, bony fingers on Daniel's shoulder as if awaiting a command. Maya's chest tightened. This wasn't just Daniel anymore. He had brought something else with him, something older, something that didn't belong to this world. I don't belong to you, Maya forced out, though her voice shook. Daniel tilted his head, smiling cruelly. Then you belong to him. The thing lunged. Maya screamed and bolted, her bare feet slapping the road as she abandoned the suitcase entirely. The trees ahead swayed violently, though there was no wind, their shadows reaching like claws. Behind her, she could hear them, Daniel's footsteps dragging, the thing's uneven gait pounding closer and closer. The night swallowed her cries as she ran, but deep inside she knew one truth. No matter how far she fled, Daniel had already crawled out of the grave for her. And he wasn't leaving alone. Maya burst through the woods, branches whipping her arms, until the outline of the old farmhouse appeared through the darkness. Her chest heaved as she stumbled toward the place she once swore she would never return to. The house had been Daniel's family home. Abandoned for decades, it stood crooked and gray, its windows like empty eyes. She had left it behind the night she buried him, vowing never to cross its threshold again. But now, with the thing and Daniel closing in, it was her only refuge. She shoved open the door. The hinges shrieked like a warning, but she slipped inside, slamming it shut behind her. Dust hung in the air, and the scent of rot clung to the walls. Her footsteps echoed as she hurried across the warped wooden floor, searching for a place to hide. The living room still bore the traces of their time there. The cracked couch where Daniel once held her. The fireplace where he had whispered secrets that made her shiver. The table where he made her cut her palm and seal that foolish promise in blood. Her throat tightened. Even the house seemed to remember him. Maya. His voice seeped through the cracks of the door, not from outside but from everywhere. It slithered along the walls, vibrating through the floorboards, curling around her ears. She pressed her hands over them, shaking her head. No, you're not here. You can't be here. A laugh followed, low and broken. You brought me back the moment you swore forever. The house remembers. The ground remembers. And you, the voice deepened, hollow now. You can't forget. The air grew colder. Her breath fogged in front of her. From the corner of the room, the shadows thickened, writhing like smoke. The thing stepped through first. Its long fingers brushed against the ceiling beams as it ducked beneath the doorway, its teeth glinting. Behind it came Daniel, dragging one foot, dirt still crumbling from his skin, his eyes fixed on her with a devotion so fierce it curdled into horror. You came home, Daniel whispered, smiling. Just like I knew you would. Maya backed against the wall, her trembling hands feeling for anything that could serve as a weapon. Her fingers brushed a rusted poker by the fireplace. She gripped it tightly. This isn't home, she spat. It's a tomb. Daniel's smile widened. Exactly. The thing crouched, ready to pounce. Daniel stretched his arms out as though waiting to embrace her. The house groaned with them, the walls vibrating, dust raining from the ceiling as if the building itself were alive, breathing, remembering, waiting. And in that moment, Maya realized the house wasn't shelter, it was a trap. The house trembled as if it were listening to every breath Maya took. She gripped the fireplace poker, knuckles white, staring at Daniel and the thing. The floorboards groaned beneath their weight. But Maya sensed it wasn't just them, it was the promise. Alive, pulsing through the walls. Daniel's voice was soft now, almost pleading. Do you remember that night, Maya? The candles? The blood? The vow? Her stomach twisted. She remembered all too well. It was late summer, the air heavy with heat. He had taken her hand, sliced her palm with a blade, and pressed it against his. They let their blood drip onto the wooden table, and he whispered words in a language she didn't understand. He had called it eternal love. But now she knew it was something darker. You tricked me, Maya hissed. That wasn't a promise, it was a curse. Daniel tilted his head, his smile brittle. No curse, a bond. And bonds don't break. His eyes glowed faintly green and unnatural. When I went into the ground, I felt it pulling. Your fear, your loneliness. You never really let me go. That's why I came back. Behind him, the thing shifted, restless, scraping its claws along the wooden wall. Sparks flew as nails met old paint. It growled low, a sound that seemed to come from beneath the floor, from the soil itself. Maya's breath hitched. What is that thing? Daniel's gaze softened in a way that made it worse. The price. Every promise has one. She shook her head violently. No, I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask for him. You didn't have to, Daniel whispered. You asked for forever. And forever doesn't come free. The thing took a step closer, its movements jagged, unnatural. Its eyes, if they could be called that, were black voids that sucked the light from the room. Maya backed up, the poker trembling in her grip. She thought of running, but the door behind her slammed shut on its own. The windows rattled violently, panes cracking. The house wasn't letting her leave. "Why me?" Maya's voice broke, tears stinging her eyes. "Why couldn't you just stay dead?" Daniel's face softened, but the tenderness was monstrous. "Because I love you. Enough to claw my way out of the grave. Enough to tear through the veil. Enough to drag him with me if that's what it takes." The thing lunged faster than she expected. Maya swung the poker wildly, sparks flying as it connected. The creature recoiled with a hiss, retreating slightly into the shadows. Her heart pounded. She wasn't powerless, not yet. But as Daniel stepped forward, his smile widening, she knew the truth. To break the bond, she'd have to destroy more than him. She'd have to destroy the promise itself. The house shook as if the walls themselves wanted to collapse inward, burying them all together. Maya's breath came fast, each inhale laced with the dust of the collapsing ceiling. Daniel stood before her, dirt-streaked and smiling, while the thing lurked in the shadows, its form shifting as though it were made of soil and bone. The poker trembled in her hands. She knew striking Daniel would do nothing. He wasn't flesh anymore, not fully. The bond between them wasn't just love gone wrong. It was a binding spell. Her eyes darted to the old dining table, the one where they had spilled their blood years ago. The memory burned. His hand pressed to hers. The words whispered like poison, the drip of blood sealing forever. That was where it began. That was where it had to end. Maya sprinted toward the table. Daniel roared, the sound both human and monstrous. He lunged after her, but the house itself seemed to hesitate, as if it remembered too the pact, the blood, the unholy promise. The boards beneath her feet vibrated, guiding her instead of stopping her. She slammed the poker onto the table. Wood splintered. The old surface cracked open to reveal dark stains still etched into the grain, the mark of their blood. Daniel staggered, his grin faltering. "Maya, don't!" Her hands shook, but she raised the poker again, this time driving it deep into the wood. A scream tore through the house, not hers, not Daniel's, but something older, something buried beneath them all. The thing shrieked, its elongated limbs thrashing as smoke poured from its body, twisting violently. "You promised me forever," Daniel howled, stumbling closer. His face cracked, pieces of dirt and flesh peeling away. "You can't break it, you're mine." Maya's eyes burned with tears, but her voice was steady now. "No, Daniel. I was yours once. But forever ends tonight." She raised the poker one last time and drove it through the table's heart. The house exploded with sound. Windows shattered, floorboards split, and the very earth outside screamed like 1,000 voices released. The thing convulsed violently, collapsing into a heap of dust and bone. Daniel let out a guttural cry, reaching for her, with desperate hands, but his form disintegrated into ash before he could touch her. Then silence. The air grew still. The house stopped trembling. Only the broken table remained, its surface blackened, the bond burned away. Maya collapsed to her knees, the poker slipping from her hands. For the first time in months, she could breathe without fear clawing at her chest. She was free. But as she stumbled out into the dawn, leaving the ruins behind, she couldn't ignore one final thought. If Daniel had crawled out of the grave once, what would stop him from trying again? If this story sent shivers down your spine, imagine what's waiting in the next one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a tale that will keep you awake at night.